Welcome to the Fine Print, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Caleb Teskey, and today I am joined by Shawn Rice and Robert Grimm from Taunik in Heinsberg. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Before we get into anything serious, would you both mind doing a 5-minute life story for our viewers here?
Sure. Shawn, you want to kick it off?
Sure. I am originally, I grew up in Long Island, so from New York. Went to college in upstate New York at Oswego. Went from art, and after moving back home after graduating to New York City, started working at an art gallery, which then led to working at a Anheuser-Busch wholesaler and then I was making banners for bodegas, and that kind of just grew into making posters. And then that wholesaler took on craft breweries, and then I got kind of picked up by Magic Hat Brewing Company, and then brought up to Vermont, and then did graphic design and marketing there for 12 years, and then branched off to other breweries, and then into the cannabis scene, and worked with Bob and some of Bob's other partners at Magic Hat, and helped them in the early stages of foam with art and stuff. But I've been in the cannabis industry doing design and marketing since 2016. That's it in a super small nutshell.
Yeah, and we're gonna come back to some of those details. And by the way, nice hat.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
I do design, marketing, and packaging for Foreman's Finest as well.
Yeah, I got the shirt. I got a hoodie.
The original.
Yeah, hell yeah. Bob, would you care to do a 5-minute life story? Is Bob okay? Do you prefer Robert?
No, I go by Bob usually. I really respond to anything. I'm just not a Rob, really. Anyway, yeah. So I guess I started. We could start back in college. I went to one of the SUNY schools over in New York for food science and human nutrition, and then decided I didn't want to work in a hospital like the program was kind of pushing me toward. So got into brewing beer, and one thing led to another. A couple years later, I was working at a regional production brewery. Kind of started at the bottom and worked my way up. Really tried to learn everything that I could learn within the brewery, atmosphere, environment.
What's the bottom of a brewery, Bob?
The bottom of the brewery is like what you would imagine, kind of cleaning things, cleaning kegs, filling kegs, doing all the grunt work, really.
I did that once. Yeah.
I think it's important. I think it's a really important thing to do, and to understand, where everyone's at and what everyone has to do as a responsibility in a brewery. So I'm glad that I started there. So then a couple of us started Foam Brewers, brewery down the waterfront in Burlington, Vermont. And
beautiful spot, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy, but it's almost been 7 years already. And yeah, I met Shawn Rice, knew Shawn from the beginning of Foam, and he was good friends with like you said, some of my partners as well, and became fast friends. Then
Todd decided to. Are we talking about Todd?
Todd Hare, yep.
Okay,
it's one of them, yeah. Cool. And so Todd Hare and I decided to grow some CBD hemp in 2019 as a fun side project. And I don't know if you guys remember, but 2019 was a pretty brutal year for lots of reasons. It was really wet and cold in the beginning of the year, and then it became really dry and dust bowl-y by the second half of the summer. Anyway, I would say that everyone decided to grow hemp that year, so we didn't want to lose out on the deal. So we, tried to create a value-added thing, and we went back to basics. We know what we're good at, which is making beverages, and so we really kind of landed on that. We had all the hemp flower, all the hemp bud that we'd grown, extracted into a more shelf-stable oil, or distillate, I should say, and then that's where Taunik, the CBD infused tea brand company, came from, and it happened to coincide with us going for our THC manufacturing license, tier 3, which
so you guys, yeah, right, you guys got a tier 3 manufacturing. I like to get that out right off the top here. Yep. Tier 3. Cool.
Yeah, we didn't get it yet. We just had our inspection this past Thursday, and we're fully expecting to be granted the license on the 30th when they meet again. So,
how did the inspection go?
It went really well. It was very smooth, and it wasn't just the compliance officer assigned to us. It was also Kerry. I believe he's the commissioner, right, John?
He's the head of compliance, I believe.
Yeah, he's the head of the board. Yeah. No, yeah, the commissioner is somebody else. But he came along, and I was really glad that he did, because the tag team, it was two of us. It was me and our partner Steve, and the two of them. And so our compliance officer was actually talking to Steve more about kind of the security stuff or whatever. And I was able to sit there and talk with Kerry and ask him some questions that, well, it kind of came up naturally. In fact, he actually started bringing some of the stuff up, but it was kind of relieving in a way to be able to have the face-to-face with Kerry and talk kind of candidly and openly about some of the stuff that he was really kind of driving the conversation too, which was really nice. I didn't have to feel uncomfortable about that. So it was really good. I would say it was a very positive, unexpectedly positive experience.
Cool. And how does it go? They just walk through they check out your gear.
Yeah, I mean, they basically were just trying to make sure that it was a very secure space. So they wanted to make sure that all of the security camera coverage was there, the lockable doors. I mean, I think that we kind of went above and beyond. We have cages on the windows and motion sensors and all sorts of stuff like that.
Some just extra stuff for the fire marshal to be happy, and this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the gym, but it'll be good in the end anyway. It's good to have our stuff securely tucked away, not tampered with.
And I know security was a big issue. Before we dive too much into that, I wanted to back up a little bit to Shawn, because you mentioned something about, making flyers for bodegas. And as a big half-baked fan, I'm bodegas has been kind of an ongoing joke in my life. And obviously I'm from Vermont. We don't have bodegas, but you said you worked in New York City, and I'm sort of curious how you got into that line of work and how it went.
Yeah, it's weird. So like after in college, after I graduated, well, I went to college for art, painting, photography, and sculpture. And then after I graduated, I moved back to Long Island, and then slowly moved back into the art world. Worked at a small art gallery in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and just kind of basically couch surfed at friends of mine from college that had also moved to Brooklyn. And then a couple of them ended up working at a Budweiser wholesaler right in Williamsburg. And I got a job. Well, I was working at the art gallery, and then I learned how to make signs for the openings and cards. So that was my graphic design training. I took some classes in high school, but it was not design. It was computer art or something, but I didn't really get very far into it. It was just really through making those 12-pack banners and table tents for bars in Bay Ridge and Park Slope, and that I learned how to use Corel Draw, and then found out that was not what I should be using, and got into Adobe Illustrator, and then got into making customized posters for bands, and then made my own band that could make album covers for, and then so that grew into being having a business then with computer art, and because I had tried the traditional fine art, and I just didn't really feel like doing that part of it. And commercial art, it's still you get paychecks, you don't have to be starving, you can have a nice apartment and a car and food and all this stuff, and do creative work.
Stuff that I like, food. Yeah.
So, and then I just kind of got deeper and deeper into that. And then the Budweiser place ended up becoming the wholesale for all the best craft beer in New York City, Sierra Nevada, Chimay, Duvel, Omegang, all the stuff back in 1999. Or
yeah, the switchback. I was gonna say, I feel like
switchback in New York City. Then I don't. But Magic Hat, they had that was the only real one from Vermont. And that I remember seeing in high school. A friend of mine brought that back from, he was in school up in Vermont in a boarding school, and brought back this box. It was like the coolest like thing. It's this black box with like silk screen orange print, looked like a Andy Warhol thing. And then that was like in 1994, and I was like into fish back then. And so like this Vermont scene was always something that was kind of like behind there. And then yeah, I became friends with the Magic Hat people because we started selling their stuff, and I love their art. And I was like, I want to work and I can do this. And then I started to make window displays for them, and like just like in New York City. So that got a lot of exposure, help with sales. They gave me a job as a sales rep for a year, so I was like the Magic Hat sales rep, and that was really fun. And
Awesome.
then
Yeah.
and then they brought me up to Vermont, and like started as a junior designer, became a staff designer, senior designer, art director, and then the company grew and got humongous, got bought, and kind of like
I was going to say, didn't
things ran
Anheuser-Busch?
its course, and it was time for me. I left, and then shortly after that, they kind of like regrouped, and COVID kind of like put the nail in the coffin for them in Vermont. But
wasn't that an Anheuser-Busch purchase? Didn't they
no,
buy?
it was
No?
no, it was a way more complicated thing that I wouldn't even get into.
Cool. We talk about that later.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then yeah, and then so that's where I got through it. And then like after that, my training at Magic Hat was like incredible. I worked with really great artists. The owner of Magic Hat was really a marketing genius, and definitely learned a lot of the good things. And through working there, saw lots of things I should never do ever, which has helped me create businesses now, and is like kind of the foundation for Taunik.
Cool. Now, Bob, I'm told you're very chatty. So I'm going to pick your brain a little, because I believe he told me you are the master brewer here.
No, I don't know about that. I mean,
or maybe I don't mean to quote him, but I was paraphrasing.
Yeah, I can make some stuff. I mean, I have a lot of experience in the past, whatever, I guess, 10 years, kind of flavor creation and beverages, alongside with Todd, one of my partners, Todd Hare, like I was talking about. And then, I mean, we have a really good beverage flavor team here, I guess you could say, because we all have experience in our own worlds doing stuff like that in that realm. Todd was the brewmaster at Magic Hat for a while, for years, and he's a very creative person himself. And then we have Steve Gurley he's really into making cocktails and seltzers and stuff like that, kind of on his own, and he does a really great job with that. And then Josh Bear and I are down at the waterfront in Burlington for Foam Brewers, kind of brewing all the new beers, doing all the R&D development stuff, new recipes, new techniques, new
comedy
ingredients.
shows. I saw some comedy shows down there.
Comedy shows, all sorts of stuff going on. And so yeah, we're just happy to be there. But it's been really fun, kind of navigating through all the combos of different things and trying to see what works, what doesn't work, specifically with Taunik stuff I'm talking about. We have a lot of great relationships with people in the industry at this point, and we've had a lot of positive back and forth with some of the people that we're getting the water soluble from. So when we first started out trying out, how we can add a CBD oil to a carbonated tea, it was not very good. Like, it was very bitter, like cloudy, but in a really weird way. And that was before we even met the people that we're working with now, up in Morrisonville. And
are we allowed to shout them out? Because I love those guys.
Let's see why not, right? Scientific. Green Mountain Scientific is the people that we work with now, and Keith up there, Keith and Michael.
Keith is a genius, right? I mean, that guy is absolutely a fucking genius.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he really dialed that stuff in, because we had been using somebody else's extract for like some trial runs in the past, and it was just not even close to the quality that Keith got it to. So it was really nice working with somebody that would listen and kind of have that contribution to saying, oh, I think like this could, this is a little bitter, this is blah blah whatever.
And someone with that science background that could maybe help you craft a product that's more dialed into what you're looking for.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, yeah, it's really, based on sensory evaluation and feedback on stuff like that as well. So that's been really helpful and really awesome to see how, like, how our cannabis community and our community in general can really make some big moves and make some changes. So that's been real exciting, and looking forward to seeing what we can do with everyone else too. I mean, there's a lot of conversations around doing focusing on terpenes rather than the highest THC content something. I mean, we're obviously limited to package sizing and serving sizing and everything that in the state of Vermont. So I don't necessarily think that's a huge problem, because I think that a lot of people are really interested in kind of pulling out the terpene profiles of their favorite bud, I guess, and seeing how we can maybe develop that flavor profile into a drink and kind of I mean, that's what we do with hops and beer, like there's terpenes in hops, same exact terpenes that are in cannabis. I mean, cannabis is the closest plant cousin to
they look
hops.
very similar actually when they're kind of
similar. Yeah, totally. So I mean, those are all things that I think are going to be pretty exciting and avenues that we might pursue. I don't know if Shawn, I don't know if you wanted to get into the specific types of products that we're going to be offering.
Yeah, I mean, like we are gonna like kind of like work with specific growers and like develop a beverage around one of their like signature varieties. For instance, Forbin's Finest, their strawberry Slurpee. We're gonna Bob is working on some a flavor, like a beverage, whether it's a tea or what it will be. We're still like kind of developing. It could be a seltzer, but it'll kind of be using their flower to make an extract. We haven't decided exactly what it will be, if it's going to be a distillate based or if it'll be a hash rosin base. That's still we're still working at the details of it, but like we'll use their flower for the THC and then recreate that flavor profile from the herb and kind of accentuate it in our tonic twist. And in keeping with all of our tonics not being overly sweet, we only sweeten with honey, so it's very lightly sweet. I definitely don't like super sweet, like the majority of the THC beverages I've tried have just disgustingly sweet to hide the taste of the bitterness of the extract, which kind of like is like where there's still bitterness in like the extract. There's undeniable, but it's kind of nice. It's in like just like an adult flavor, and it's reminiscent of beer, and it's really
there's bitterness in an IPA as well, and people like that.
That's where it has this really unique.
It cuts the cloying.
Yeah,
that's what it does.
Yeah. It's like a non-alcoholic like beer-ish, like so. It has a really great qualities to it, and we can play a lot with it. And yeah, we have a lot planned. We have a few other growers. I don't really want to
Yeah, you don't have to blow up anyone's spot here that you don't want to.
But we're excited about the Forbin's collaboration, and like we hope to use a lot of their flower in our beverages. But there's a lot of great people out in our state that we want to connect with, and we want to be distributing like beverages throughout the state, and that's where we're really going to kind of mirror the craft beer industry and like how beer is distributed and delivered. And we want to we have cold storage, so we will be keeping everything cold. We're going to deliver cold and deliver.
Yeah, we talked about this like Farrell or a Baker type of company.
Yeah, just like our miniature kind of like version of that, and we hope to have making like signature beverages for different retailers and dispensaries, and then
that's a great idea.
Move stuff around too, so there'll be a way to get some sort of like connection between like people down in southern Vermont, like the Bud Barn, and people in Burlington or in Essex at Magic Man, like because it's really like really disconnected and how different, you know, I've seen just connecting, like going to different dispensaries now, giving samples, like it's so different and so just like isolated.
Yeah. So
And
Southern Vermont might as well be a fucking foreign country as far
it
as I'm
really,
concerned.
it basically is. So, um,
And before this, I believe you said that you guys were sourcing all of your own hemp. You were using the hemp that you grew. But
yeah, that's how what we started with, was all of
I assume by the amount of
all the,
cans that you, sorry to interrupt, but I assume by the amount of cans that you have behind you, you might need some extra product to help fill all those orders.
yeah. So hopefully, like, you know, hopefully soon we're going to need to be buying a lot. And we do have, you know, we have other people that we're going to be sourcing our CBD hemp from in Vermont as well. Um, People like Sunset Lake CBD.
Oh, hell yeah. I love those guys.
Smaller places that we want to, you know, share business with.
Yeah, and I really liked your idea of doing sort of like customized, like, hey, we'll run this strain for you and make a limited run or whatever. I really
Yeah.
thought that was a clever stroke there.
Like wine, like these vintages, like there's never going to be this like OG Kush, you know, 2023 and from Bourbons or whatever it is, or from anybody. Like this could be a very special thing, and you can kind of have that little footprint. And like, so we want to be able to do things like even like wine condition, like bottle, like different kind of packaging, other ways to make it really special. So we have a, you know, like we said, we have the tier 3 license, so we'll have like a kind of a lot of options.
Yeah, and you said some of those different methods of extraction maybe might affect the shelf life of your product. I was curious if either one of you guys would like to speak on how you keep your product fresh for the longest, or what your
Yeah.
favorite option is personally to drink, or how those two
I mean,
ideas marry.
Yeah, totally. I think like obviously the CO2 extraction is probably going to be the most stable, or at least one of the most stable, because, you know, it really just pulls it down to the oil and terpenes, and I mean you really can like just literally distill out everything, every aspect of that. But I would imagine I don't really have a lot of experience doing this yet, but am very interested in diving into it. But like you know, like the rosin, the hash stuff, like I feel like that might have some type of stability issue for a beverage in the future, but I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I guess it depends on really what the like the raw product going into the beverage is, and what, you know, what the well, you know, what the oxygen. It's also weird because I'm coming from a beer background, and so a lot of the things that I that I get kind of caught up in my head for like a split second are related to the, you know, oxidative qualities of beer. Like you can never add oxygen or add anything to beer that would like cause it to become stale or bad. And like what we're doing is just totally different. There's no malt in it, so it really isn't the same thing.
Is
And
that's what causes the beer to go stale, is the malt?
It would, I mean, technically, yeah, it would be the malt that gets oxidized by oxygen. It's really the like air causes beer to go bad. If there's at any point in the process at all, then it will become, you know, stale, like bread.
What about light?
Light, yeah, light struck as well. That would be bad, because like, yeah, if it's in a bottle that is, you know, like a clear bottle or something, or a green bottle, Heineken, for example. If you bring that out into the sun, it's actually pretty interesting. Like a photon in light literally goes through the glass and cleaves off a sulfur molecule on you know, on the larger hop molecule that's in solution.
Is that why it tastes like piss?
Yeah, that's why it tastes like a skunk, because it's literally the same exact compound. And
because I've heard people tell me that in if you go to Europe and drink a Heineken, it tastes delicious. But by the time it gets here in a green bottle, maybe a lot of light has hit it, and it's degraded the quality.
I've been to the Heineken brewery, and it tastes like the same.
Really? Okay, cool.
It tastes like maybe a little bit better, but like it's
okay. I've had some people tell me the opposite. They were like, "Yo, in Europe, it was fantastic." Okay.
Yeah. I
Well, I
mean,
mean, everything's
I've
better
actually
over
I've
there.
heard
Like,
both
you know,
as
I
well.
had
So
like the best Guinness ever in Dublin.
I've
But
heard that too.
I
Yeah.
think there's a lot about being there too. Like, yeah, I enjoyed it more than any other Heineken I've ever had for sure, because I was in like the Heineken brewery in
yeah,
Amsterdam.
totally. I tried to go. I got turned. It was like the longest line in history. It was like a mile long when we were there. So I just ate a bunch of mushrooms and smoked weed instead.
Fuck yeah. That sounds like my kind of trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it was a trip.
Like,
Let me tell you.
What was I gonna ask you about too? It was something Shawn mentioned on the phone earlier. It sounds like, I've been asking everybody about building out their facilities, and it sounds like you guys may be lucked out by having a lot of the gear already on hand.
Um, what do you mean by that, Shawn?
we started out that way, like for sure. Like, yeah, like
You're
as
talking
far as
about for the CBD stuff?
Yeah,
yeah,
just
and
it
that
sounds
was
like you
like,
had a lot of the extraction equipment, maybe.
Oh,
Or,
okay.
well, we
Sorry,
had
I was just imagining our space that we're building out now. I'm like, oh, it's pretty
no,
bootstrapped.
let's start at the beginning and go to there.
Yeah, totally. Shawn, if you wanted to jump on it.
okay. Well, no, just being like, I mean, that was kind of like where the idea came from. Like, I guess, when we were like after the grow and after like the collapse of kind of the market, like we have hundreds of pounds of CBD. What are we going to do with all this shit? And just like thinking, and not very long, we're like, well, obviously, make a drink. You guys make world class, incredible beverages. We can make a CBD tea. Like you brew it, like it'll be brewed. It'll be similar. We're not going to make like formulations and liquid. We're going to brew beverages and elixirs, things that like do stuff to you and make you feel good, make you whatever. And obviously, like I was just like, well, yeah, duh, that's a great thing. And then like with it being a non-alcoholic option, like just is a great thing with breweries, and like that's a huge, like gigantic, fast-moving, growing segment in like the beverage industry, non-alcoholic, especially like adult flavors, things that are not excessively sweet, full of corn syrup, um, and just are using local ingredients and are made really, really well. And then so they had all the stuff for doing like test batches, brewing. So they had like the tanks, and we could use that for CBD products, and we could use the canning line. And that's how kind of like the foot of like making the product. They could do the R&D and development and packaging and kind of sharing like the space that they already had existing. And then that, that connection still till now, where like we can work together to have more buying power for stuff, and like the ability to our new warehouse space is because of foam's expansion, and we can lease space from like a same building that they have and can be close together, and that's great.
It
So,
looks
and they
like
have
you're in the
all the
warehouse
experience.
right now, Shawn.
Yeah, and it's not like they're newing, and yeah, we have a few cans behind me, and they already know how to make and package the drink. So it's not like they're like, all right, we got to figure out how to like put our tincture in bottles. Like they don't have to. We don't have to learn anything. Like they know all the stuff. Like the regulation of making it really clean, having a clean facility, and just following all the rules and the regulations, because like there's tons. And that's like the problem that like most new cannabis business have, is all the regulations and like getting your stuff done, and like all the red tape and dealing with the boards and everything. But like that's just kind of like business, like for everything, like beer, like tons of like constant like dealing with TTV and all this.
Which
You have to like follow, and it's good because if you don't follow like stuff, bad things happen.
Yeah. Which one of you guys handle all of that stuff, or did you guys hire a lawyer to deal with all that shit?
Or
I mean,
In terms of the application process, I'm wondering. I know some people that did it on their own, and some people that hired a lawyer.
yeah, we did it on our own. We navigated through all that, and it was a lot, but it was good though. I mean, I have previous experience doing pretty much the exact same thing, like Shawn said, with the TTB licensing, which is also a real lot. I thought that was I thought that was the most intense licensing application stuff until the CCB stuff.
And that's to
It's
get
give and take.
your liquor. That was to get your liquor license.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I mean, it's to get your malt manufacturing license through the
Okay.
federal government, and then there's like multiple. Then you have to get the same thing through the state, but then you have to get different liquor licenses. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff in alcohol, but
There is.
in cannabis world, it's very similar in a lot of ways. The difference is there's a lot of gray area with the CCB stuff, which is almost worse because then it's like you get like 3 to 4 different answers for one question. And like, it's you can't blame them. They're doing the best they can. It's a new thing. The gray area can be good for a lot of reasons. Like they've changed a lot of things that maybe didn't make sense for everybody. They're listening. They're being open to feedback, which is great. But it is, it does take a toll on your mental state a little bit when you're trying to navigate through that without any real.
I imagine trying to get a business off the ground, build a foundation for a business when you're basically building on quicksand. Maybe quicksand isn't the right analogy, but it seems like the foundation has been constantly shifting, and it must be a tough environment to get a business.
I mean,
that's
honestly, that's literally how it felt sometimes. I think that I'm a chronically positive person, but it certainly did feel like it was, we were sinking away at some points, but that's why you just got to buckle down and lean on, Shawn, and Shawn can lean on
I'm not
Todd.
giving up. Like
that's why it's good to have the 5 people.
Well, it seems like a lot of people at this point are so invested that giving up is not even an option.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I don't like to like give up on things just in general, but yeah, there's a lot of time, a lot of money, and resources invested in this at this point. And
sure.
There's no reason to give up. We've made it to we're like 10 feet away from the finish line here. Let's just
we believe
the end of the marathon.
We know.
Well, and it sounds like you've both had success in other industries. And basically, the issue now is just finding a quality product to put in your cans. It sounds like you've got the process down, and now what you need is something to fill up your packaging with.
Yeah, we know what we're going to be putting in there. We really are just we're really just waiting for like a couple of pieces of equipment that we purchased. We have to go buy, or we have to go pick up on this coming Monday. So
what Josh type of equipment? Would you care to name that type of equipment?
Yeah, it's a little kind of standalone brew house. It's real small though. It's only like 100 gallons, which makes sense for what we're going to be using it for. Again, coming from the beer-minded background, everything needs to be bigger and like just more of everything, because it takes 2 weeks to ferment beer. It takes about 30 minutes to brew tea. So it's like it's just a totally different mindset.
That's a great point.
It's smaller batches better for us.
Yeah, and I feel like that's really kind of the thrust of the Vermont market is smaller batches, higher quality.
Yeah, it's smaller, limited releases, like little drops. Like there's only like 20 cases of this Forbans thing, or there's 20 cases of this Magic Man thing, or whatever it is, like whatever, brand you have.
Right.
Like these could be like, really kind of hot items.
yeah. And I don't want to say like creating an artificial scarcity, because I think right now there's a legitimate scarcity.
Yeah, it would be just like because there's only so many, like they can only grow so much, so there's only so much to make it. Yeah,
in terms of marketing, another brilliant stroke there, I think. And I've seen people talking about this in terms of just selling flower at dispensaries, like like twice a year we're gonna have 5 pounds of of Forbans flower here or something, like these limited releases to keep customers interested in coming back.
We've seen like the Heady Topper in Vermont. That was like something that that was wild. Like that's no one has seen before. Like that was a really, really crazy thing that happened. And I would like to see something like that happen, like in like, the cannabis world. What's going to be that thing that's like, people are just like, oh my God, we got to wait in line for this.
Yeah. Shawn, when I was in college in Worcester, Mass, my friends, I used to come back here 3 or 4 times a year for break, and my friends would ask me to get Heady Topper. And I'd be like, okay. And then I went and I would see the lines. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not fucking waiting. I don't even drink.
Yeah.
Which I believe you said as well.
Yeah. I have waited on the line many times for friends getting cases for them just because like it's nice to share something special about Vermont and like
Sure.
they get like insanely like excited.
What college did you go to?
I went to
Holy
Worcester
Cross?
Polytechnic Institute.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm a physics nerd.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started out in college with biochemistry for 2 years, and then
Oh.
so I have a degree in food science and human nutrition with a minor in chemistry and psychology, actually.
Awesome. We're gonna nerd out sometime, Bob. I'm gonna come over there.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
We have to make you a signature drink.
Hey, dude, I've thought about doing a fine print branded pre-roll line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
would your flavor
That's
be?
a great idea.
What's your
Dude,
profile?
I'd love that. It would be an honor, honestly. I just, I got to find the right people. But yeah. Let's keep this going. We'll come back to that.
Cool.
I wanted to talk about testing. I don't know. So are you guys, if you're going to be taking flour from other people, that's got to be tested before you get it, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Shawn mentioned about testing in New York, how that was insane. I would like to hear from either or both of you about the testing, and definitely from Shawn about the New York situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think for testing, I guess that could mean a couple different things to people. There's kind of the third party testing that people will be doing in-house to whatever capability they might have to do that. But then the testing that has to be done, or sorry, not third party testing. The people that would be doing it themselves would be in-house testing, obviously. The third party testing would be the labs that are certified, that are licensed to test cannabis related things. So like the lab that we bring all of our CBD stuff to, and we'll bring our THC stuff to, they're a certified lab. I think they were one of the first, if not the first in the state of Vermont. Yeah. Huh?
Baya.
Yep, exactly. And they have a great setup over there, and they're super legit. We actually work with them for the brewery as well. They recently took on another person that had the capability of testing certain things in beer, like alcohol content, IBUs, so bitterness, stuff like that. And they do a fantastic job, and I think that's I don't really foresee that as being a big bottleneck for us. The testing that I could see being a bottleneck is not actually testing really at all. It's more of like the product registration, product approval stuff with the CCB, because there's going to be a lot of people flooding their stuff in there to ask for approval. And there's only a small group of people. They're doing the best they can, but especially while they're trying to, still hand out licenses to people and everything, like having to go do the inspections and such. It just seems like it might be definitely a bottleneck. But we're gonna have to wait.
It already is from the reports.
I know it is. I know it is. I'm trying to be positive here, but I know.
No, and I agree with you. They are doing their best job, and I don't want to shit on them, because I really think, even with their lack of experience, I do think they've done a really bang up job with the legislation that they were handed, which I thought personally was dog shit. But that's my. Yeah. I try to keep my personal opinions out of the interviews.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I completely agree, and. Again, like I was saying before too, like coming from the TTB background, or not the TTB background, but dealing with the TTB, applying for licensing with the Tax and Trade Bureau, which regulates the alcohol industry, beers and such. I was impressed. I was like, man, these guys have really done a great job navigating through this stuff. And then like the very last month, when it was kind of pushing to the finish line to get our inspection and everything, it got a little frustrating, but really, like Shawn pointed out, there could have probably been some stuff that we could have done to maybe speed it up a little bit. And so every time you get, kind of frustrated, I guess it's always good to take a little look in the mirror too. But
right. And Shawn, and you said in New York, it was much more stringent than this. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think like they have some cool parts to their laws. Like you can use in public anywhere. Like there's no restriction. Like in Vermont, you can't. There's not you have to do it in private residences, really.
Like a degenerate.
Yeah, but as far as like registration of products, they have like, it's definitely more intense. Like they have a lot more people working there, and there's so many more growers, so many more, so much more volume. Like the size of the grows are like 100 times bigger, and they have like there's so many more, and so their laws are much more restrictive in color of packaging, and like you have multiple different warnings that you have to rotate throughout your packaging lineup evenly, and use all the different warnings. Just there's just lots of
Are
stuff.
these similar warnings to Vermont? The psychosis stuff, the
Yeah,
suicide
it's kind of
risk
like
stuff.
it's similar, just broken up. It's actually the wordings are maybe a little bit. They don't use the psychosis, but
Thank God.
it's similar to like cigarettes, and as far as like just the swishing of the warnings.
So as the
And they
label
also,
guy, but
and
sorry, go
New
ahead.
York also has only like 2 labs for like the state. So like they're
Two.
like, I guess maybe not, they made at least in like there's not a lot. I don't know how many the exact number is. Don't quote me at 2, but there's not a lot. So there's definitely a slowdown. Like so, from what I've seen, like things
There's
are
a lot of
moving
red
pretty
tape in
quickly
New York
here.
State.
Like
There's a lot of
a week
different.
over there.
That's how it was for breweries too, Shawn. Like that. I remember, whatever,
Yeah.
12 years ago or something. I went to college in New York, and they were doing, they were introducing the Farm Bill and all of that stuff. It was still like in the legislation at the time, but then it went through, and it was a great idea, and it had all the right intentions. It just like fucked everything up because it was just like you said, too many people that signed up for it, too many people trying to take advantage of the system that was in place, and not enough resources to make any of it really work. And so like that's one of the things that I think is really great about the state that we're in, Vermont, is like there's positives and negatives to being in a small state. I really see the positives more than the negatives most of the time. I think
That's good to hear, man.
yeah, I mean, I think that we have the people that live here are creative and driven and problem solvers just innately. At least the people that I've surrounded myself with, and it just seems like a lot of the people in the industry are like that.
I agree. I agree.
And so it's kind of like the craft beer movement as well. Sorry to keep bringing it back to that, just like my world, I guess. But
Don't apologize.
like they, Todd always says, or has always said, he kind of ingrained it in my head years ago. It's like, there was a rising tide mindset with craft beer in Vermont in particular, and like even though it's gotten way more competitive and there are much larger brewers and much smaller brewers now, that mindset is still there, and we can get together and have a beer and discuss ideas and still kind of jab each other in the shoulder to say like, oh, give each other shit, I guess. But at the end of the day, we're all in the same room talking about the same thing and driving it forward because we all have a common goal, which is to make Vermont beer better. And just like whatever we can contribute to the overall brand of Vermont beer, that's exactly what I hope and want to try to push myself and ourselves as Taunik in the cannabis world, because in Vermont, because same exact idea, small state, it's a goofy kind of slogan for craft beer. It's Vermont, small state, big beer, or beer worth finding. But the mindset and the idea is there. And like, that's what I feel like we really need to kind of get together on and make sure that we're all on the same page, is like quality, driving quality forward. So people want to travel here. We can justify being innovative is going to be really important. Justifying what, maybe why what we're selling, why this like small boutique farmer that's just doing some banging stuff, why their stuff is going to be a little bit more expensive than you could buy in, let's say, New York State or anywhere else.
Right. And some of that has to do with the taxes imposed by the state also,
100%.
And the fact that you can't sell direct to consumers, like if I could roll up to a farm in Vermont and
Yep.
I know plenty of farmers where I could roll up and just like hold my hand out and they could put a fucking eighth in my hand and I could give them cash. And I don't
100%.
necessarily care about if they had it tested because I know them and I know how they grow their product.
Yep.
However, in the regulated market, it does bring that extra cost of
Yes,
the
absolutely.
taxation and the regulation model.
100%. You're 100% correct on that. And um, I feel like there is some hope in that sense. I think, especially after talking with Carrie in particular the other day, like I kind of had this mindset of what the board was about from listening into the Q&A sessions and reading all the stuff that they put out. It's like I kind of had this idea of who they were, and like that's why I was saying it was really good to meet Carrie in particular, because he was the head of the Vermont Department of Agriculture for a long time, and so he understands like what we're talking about right now for sure, like way more than I do for sure. And it was kind of refreshing to hear his like real point of view on certain things. And of course, he was being a little candid still because he can't just like talk openly with someone that's going through an inspection.
Yeah, sure.
But it was refreshing and in a lot of ways, and I know that they all have the right intention, and like Vermont is a place that you still can go to your local farm and buy vegetables and have a CSA or any of that stuff. So I don't
Or
see
also
why we
call some of your local legislators and get them on the phone, which I find nice. You have access to people that could actually help you.
100%. And that was kind of what I was talking about earlier. What I touched on it was some of the gray area, some of the frustrations that came from that. There was really good things that came out of that as well. And like some of that stuff was the moving target, I guess, if you will, or like the changing rules. It's like you look at them
The
one day and then you look
quicksand.
at them. Yeah, exactly. The quicksand. Exactly. You look at it 2 weeks later and it's rewritten in a different way that does impact
Yeah.
what you're
I
doing. So you're like,
died that
oh,
week in December.
yeah, exactly. It's like,
That
oh
day when
man.
it was
I thought I was losing my mind at one point. I was like, I could have swore, and then luckily I had like the two different documents, and I was like, okay, so they did change this. It's like slightly reworded, but it makes a difference. It's like
Yeah, and they just
they're.
have proposed some new drafts of the rules. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but
I did. I read through them. Yeah.
go.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if that
Uh,
affects you at all, but they are now in the process of proposing, and some of those I really liked.
yep.
For instance, the tier one manufacturing, they raised the cap on gross revenue from like 10,000 to 50,000, which I thought was really cool
That's
Yeah.
because
really
I thought that
like, what's
that
the
tier
point of
one
it? Like, why are you
manufacturing.
gonna go through that for 10?
It's like a little side
Costs more
project
than
that
that
you
to
do
grow
at
that.
Thank
home.
you, Shawn. Yeah,
Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense.
Yep. But 50,000 now you
Fifty
can
thousand
have
dollars is
like
not a
a
lot of
small
money.
business.
Yeah.
Totally. 100%. And I think a lot of that stuff came from like the food, like that's like a food law too. You can have a small manufacturing food business and be under, I think it was $10,000.
Yeah.
Do it out of your home kitchen, sell cookies or something. It's like I think that's kind of where that stuff came from, because manufacture edibles, food.
I
But
think that's exactly where it came from. But some of these guys
there's not
aren't making edibles. They're making topical products or something like
right.
that, which is
That's
not
the thing.
food.
There's not a lot of like it's not defined enough to really separate that, so it kind of is limiting for some other people that might fit into that bucket, like you're saying, the topical people. It's like manufacturer across the board, there's 3 tiers, and you could be a fucking massive like multi-million dollar like extractor, or you could be like making gummies, and it's like there's only 3 tiers to fit into, and so there's not a lot of. And that was actually I don't know if Shawn had told you this, but when we were going for our manufacturing license, we were told, because we did the pre-authorization like application. We
The
got
prequel.
the prequal, the
You
prequal.
got okay, cool.
So when was that, in March? And so
Must have been, yeah.
we submitted our process, all of the stuff required, explaining what we were going to be doing, blah blah blah. We were told that we needed a tier 3 manufacturing license for that, and I was like, it doesn't really make sense, but I guess like because they repeatedly told us that if we were using CO2 extracted cannabis, whatever, then we needed to have the tier 3. And I mean, I'm talking, multiple questions about that I asked, and to the point of being, well, I felt like I was being very annoying about it. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess that is what it is. So we're gonna have to suck it up and pay the extra licensing fees and go through the extra, jump through the extra hoops, whatever.
Do you feel annoying about it? Because I feel like if you're trying to start a business, you probably can't be annoying enough, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess again, coming from the TTB background, where it's maybe can be inhibitive to be kind of
Coming
the
from having experience being annoying and the negative effects of that.
Look, hey,
yeah.
I'm
So
right there with you guys.
that's
I
where it
just,
came from,
but
and I was like,
sometimes, like, you guys have a lot of money on the line here.
totally, yeah.
And
Well,
so
that was what happened. So I kind of like cooled off on it after I got the
But
fifth or
we're
sixth.
grateful now, though.
Yeah. So
and I gotta say, I appreciate the CCB because they've dealt with a lot of sort of frustrating type of shit, and I thought they've handled it with a touch of class.
totally.
And I thought all the people that were
You
frustrated
know,
have also approached them with touches of class.
Yes. Exactly.
and that to us
Overall,
was like a happy accident too,
it's been
because
overwhelmingly like
guys,
positive interactions.
it
It
opened up a
seems
lot of
like.
more things to us.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And
Yeah,
so
Shawn.
where I was going with that was, at the very end, after people started like actually getting approved for their licenses, I talking with some peers and friends in the industry, I'm like, okay, so you just got approved for a tier 2 license, and yeah, we're doing something slightly different, but at the end of the day, it's really kind of the same thing. Like, I think that we really only needed a tier 2. So then I kind of stepped it up again. I asked repeatedly. And I certainly didn't want to throw anyone under the bus or like point anyone out and be like, well, how come they could have this? Well, like I'm not that kind of person. I never would do that. But so I wanted to kind of like ask without doing that, and I was just like, I just want to make sure. And then at the very end, this must have been in probably November, end of November, I guess. I don't, or yeah, it was like right before Thanksgiving. And then whoever I was talking to, because at the time they were just signing CCB, we weren't assigned a compliance officer at that point. So whoever I was talking to said, okay, well, since you've asked 1,000 times, let me go check one more time. Turns out we did only need the tier 2, but at that point, we had fully submitted our application for the tier 3 manufacturing license, and they said that we would have to withdraw that, resubmit all this stuff. They said that it wouldn't necessarily get in the way of our timeline, but we had already planned for the tier 3. We already created some extra value in our business plan, what we were going to be doing, how we were going to be operating. And so, like Shawn said, and this is exactly what I said to the CCB, Carrie in particular, when they came and did our inspection, because he remembered that. He told me that he knows that I was given incorrect information on that, and he apologized for it, which I thought was really big of him. But I told him I think that it was a blessing in disguise, because it allowed us to kind of create a bigger picture idea for what we're going to be doing and kind of run with it and go head in that direction. And now I think the world is our oyster, and we only can fuck it up at this point. We have a lot of opportunity to do some really cool things. So I'm excited about our opportunity, and I'm glad that I'm honestly glad that we were told the wrong thing in the beginning, because I think that it's going to turn out to be a really good thing for us and for people that we work with.
Yeah. You got me there, Bob. That's an interesting point that no one's made to me in the last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the very cliche classic thing, saying is make lemonade out of lemons kind of thing.
Well, it's a happy accident. I call it a Bob Ross kind of happy
totally.
accident.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've heard that a couple times recently too, and I totally agree with that mindset.
Cool. Okay. Interesting. That's
As
quite a
someone who
perspective.
constantly like with lemon, gotta make lemonade.
Now we just have to pull it off.
Now you just have to can the lemonade, which should be no problem based on Shawn's background.
Exactly.
We got it. We got it. Like, and our CBD drinks are great. Our best batches of the THC beverages have been phenomenal. Like we're going to be launching with basically just a THC version of our current lineup of 3, the black tea, yerba mate, and green tea, 50 milligrams of CBD and 10 milligrams of THC. And it'll be like 2 serving cans. And then we'll have our next 3 flavors that will be 5 milligram cans, and it'll be an Arnold Palmer style half and half, a yerba mate, and then an herbal tea. And then from there, like we're gonna expand to lots of different milligram levels, different like base
packaging formats.
I was gonna say, who did your packaging, Shawn?
Yeah, and hopefully I'll be able to hire some people to help me too, because I am definitely like done doing a lot of I'm definitely cut. I've used to doing like everything, like all the different things, and like I'm just slowly like, all right, I can't do social media anymore. All right, I can't do photography anymore. All right, I can't do this anymore. I'm like trying to like really narrow in so we can get people to do other things, and then that's how we'll like really fill out our brand and our
Yeah,
image. So
totally. And like to Shawn's point too, it's like we all there's 5 of us, which is great because we can all take on different responsibilities. But like this time right now is when we all have to, it has to be all hands on board, and we're gonna be stressed and we're gonna be working ourselves a little thin. But that's the exciting part, and it's gonna be we're gonna look back at this and be able to tell the story of like when it was a real struggle. And I think there's a lot of value in that, is like creating, hardening your edges to some degree, and just knowing that you will not give up and pushing forward to create something
our
that is
time.
of value.
Yeah. I don't know which way to point. Yeah, that way.
Yeah. Exactly.
Great
But
point. Great point, man.
No one else is going
And,
to do it for us. So it's like up for us to do it.
and the goal is to hire other people and create something that's a little bit more sustainable, create opportunities for people to have a stable job in this industry, and be able to support multiple people within our business and other businesses in Vermont in particular. I think that's really important and really valuable. And I mean, that's the whole point of keeping it inside of the state, the CCB, not having any outside big investors come in or any outside ownership involved. And it strengthens our cannabis community. It strengthens the relationships. We have to work well together. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed. And fortunately, there's a lot of amazingly talented people in the state of Vermont, like I was saying before. And being able to meet those people and share ideas has been exciting. Like I'm like getting chills thinking about some of the conversations I've had recently and the excitement around everything that's going on. And if we could just capture a fraction of that excitement of our community, of our friends, and market that, and also have something that people want, whether it's a beverage or a pre-roll, edible, whatever it might be. Like, people get into that stuff. It's the story, it's the realness of it, the tangibility of it. And that's what I personally love in my day job and brewing beer, is the R&D stuff, kind of the creation of new things, but also using ingredients, raw inputs from the state of Vermont, that other people might have scoffed at because the quality isn't there, or we already have a source from that and it comes from whatever, fucking Belgium, I don't know. It's like, yeah, that's cool too. It's great to be able to have all these resources, but I think it's way cooler personally to take something that is from your home state or your backyard, figuratively, and turn that into a world-class offering, or at least that would be the goal, right? And so that's exactly what our business model is. And I think that between the people that we have on board right now, the 5 of us, we have some real creative thinkers, problem solvers, and then add in the people that we're working with as partners outside of our own business. It's going to be really exciting.
Bob, you were right, Shawn. He's good.
Yeah.
He told me you were chatty, Bob.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, it's like the wind-up doll. Like,
can I ask you guys this? If you have personal relationships, do you guys feel like this is taking a toll on your personal lives to try to get this off the ground?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Shawn,
how about Bob? You go first.
I mean, not just Taunik for me, I guess, just like entrepreneurship. Like ever since I've left like a nice, cushy, steady paying job, it's stressful on your family, sure, like not consistent paychecks, like the CCB decides they're not going to meet every week, so now I got to wait another 2 months before I get like there's stress, there's tons of stress.
Are you married, Shawn? I see a ring on your finger.
I'm married, I have 3 kids, and wow. But that's just any business. You're a business owner, so you're going to have stress, and your family's going to be stressed. Yeah, but that's okay because we can handle it and we're strong together and we're dealing with it together.
Mm.
So because we have a
Yeah,
goal.
when we feel like it's the end of the world and we're having a bad day, you can at least bitch about it with someone that's in the same boat with you. But
How many employees do you guys have?
well, it's just the five of us right now,
Five?
and so we're like, that's what Sean's saying. It's a lot because we're all taking it on together.
Are you guys tight?
Oh yeah, we're really tight,
Yeah.
and we support each other, and we understand we're in the struggle together. And but I think I have a slightly different point of view than Sean does. I mean, I guess it's probably because I do have a stable paycheck at this point. Also,
What a jerk!
But
Yeah.
I've also been in
I'm the only one in the group that doesn't have it.
I'm with you, Shawn. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Bob.
I've been in Sean's position, and I very much know what that feels like. When we were starting foam, it was the same thing. I didn't have a job for over 6 months. I didn't have a paycheck. I maxed out all of my credit cards. It was a real struggle, really, really bad. And but that is also not necessarily in my mind a bad thing to feel, because that just makes you want it even more. And so you have to drive forward. You have to make it happen because there's no other option. And like, that's really important. As long as you're doing it for the right reasons originally, and you stay on that path, and you're not doing anything just to make a buck necessarily, if it's not a bad thing to feel the struggle, because that's when like true creativity kind of shows its head. You have to problem solve. You have to get there. And this guy, I don't know if you've had the pleasure of meeting him, Russ Bennett. He's a really interesting person. 7 Days did an article, the local newspaper in Chittenden County here in Burlington. 7 Days did an article on him several years ago, shortly after he was our general contractor for foam. They titled him the Wizard of Awe. He kind of looks like Gandalf, like a big long white beard. He's a very interesting person, very creative person. He was the general contractor for foam, the build out. We did all the demo. We did all the baseline stuff ourselves because we didn't have money to do it otherwise. And that was tough, but we hired him because Todd Hare had known him from the Magic Hat days. He worked with Alan Newman on the original Magic Hat tap room, the really cool aesthetic over there. He did the Red Hen Bakery. He has like this really badass tree house on his property in Waitsfield that he like uses an Airbnb. Oh, he has a really great resume. He also, him and his team do all the art and visual installations for Bonnaroo Music Festival every year up until the past like 2 years, I believe. Boston Calling, all of the fish shows. He's there doing all the
Bonnaroos, like up until 2 years ago.
Cool. Exactly. And so as you can imagine, he's a very creative person. And so he told me the whole point of the story is when it was one of the most stressful points in opening foam, we had gone over budget at this point. We were all completely tapped out of our personal funds. Like I said, I had maxed out all my credit cards to pay my rent and bills. And all of a sudden it was pushed back another couple of weeks and there was no more money. I was stressed, and he looked me in the eye and he's like, there is always a solution. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, that is like, holy shit. Yeah. For you, like, you're going to get paid no matter what. Like, but guess what? We had to get creative. We figured out a way of doing it, and there was a solution. It just wasn't obvious in the moment. And because of that stressful time, I think that everything turned out better because we had to kind of look at it from a different point of view. And that I've held that with me forever since that point. And times like, times in the past couple of months when things seemed really, really stressful, I thought of that. And then guess what? There was a solution. We figured it out. And I think that it's important to always have that mindset is like, don't give up. Don't let the little things get in the way. Maybe momentarily, but you have to get over it. And guess what? There's a million other people out there that are feeling the same thing probably and don't have the same resources that we have as a team, don't have the same people involved that can actually get to this goal that we're this end result goal that we're shooting for. And you know what? We're so close. We're right there. And once we have the license in hand, things are going to start changing fast for the better. Not that they're not great right now, but we'll have more resources. We'll have we'll have a bank account that we can actually use, because right now we only have a seedling account and we don't have the traditional bank resources, stuff like that. And so it's going to be we're on the up and up. We're getting, like I said, we're getting that equipment. So the small brew house in North Carolina that we purchased, and some process equipment that will allow us to do a lot of things that we currently don't have the ability to do, including bottling capabilities, all sorts of things like that. So we're going to be moving forward. We're going to be doing, like Shawn said, all sorts of different flavors, different packaging things. And recently, in the past couple of weeks, we've talked with some strategic partners, I guess, that are outside of our own business that we're going to be working with. And we're going to be able to offer a lot more than I originally had imagined we would. And again, because of the Tier 3 manufacturing license, that opened up a lot of different doors for us for kind of looking at how we're going to be operating a little bit differently. So kind of maximizing every aspect of it, really focusing on our own manufacturing process and offerings. We don't want to flood the market on our own either. We don't want to have 25 different things out of the gates. We want to make sure that what we're doing is the best that it is, the best version of it, and then add to that, kind of fill in the gaps where there might be a void. But we also will have the opportunity and the ability to since we're going to be self-distributing under that manufacturing license, we're going to essentially be a wholesaler. I think Shawn had touched on that as well. And so there's opportunity to really create a fucking awesome portfolio of other people's stuff. With we have the cold and dry storage that'll be under our license our licensed space. So we'll be able to store that, distribute that, because we're already going to be out there pounding the pavement, pressing the flesh, and we're going to be able to maybe optimize that loop. And it's not just going to be for Taunik, but we can offer maybe the best chocolate bar, like THC infused chocolate bar that Vermont has to offer, for example, stuff like that. And since we're already going to be doing it, it wouldn't make sense not to have our wholesale portfolio be a banging one. It's a rising tide situation again.
Fucking A, Shawn. I like this guy.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You told me he was chatty, and goddamn, he makes a lot of great points. And in terms of the business end of things, boy, good partner. I don't even know.
I feel the same exact way. I mean, Shawn drives everything. He's in it, and he's passionate, and like that is really important. It's like the team huddle at the end of the day. It's like, or the beginning of the game. It's like that's a really important moment to like rile everyone up. And I feel like that is definitely one of Shawn's strong suits, is to kind of like get the excitement there and the energy flowing, and Shawn never lets anyone like drop the ball. And if we do, guess what? You're going to hear about it. So it's really important to have a guy like that.
It's not personal. It's just like we're doing a thing, and like, things are hard, and we have our own things. But like,
is that a fair assessment?
You can just take criticism, just like it's like, because I have kids, and it's like you can't like yell at them, because like, what is that gonna? That's not gonna, like, you can't hit them. That's not gonna. You got to work with them and make it better. We're still going to be here tomorrow.
Shawn, do you think Bob's assessment of you is fair? You never let people drop the ball. You're the guy who gets the excitement going.
I'll take that. Sure. I mean,
that caught me off guard a little bit. You seem like kind of maybe a quiet background guy, but that.
Oh no, I mean, I am definitely quiet, but I'm just reserved. I have a lot to say, and just when I want to say. I'm an observer and a thinker, and I like to wait and then put it all on. But I'm definitely more letting other people say what they have to say, and then like help do the right things and continue on and moving together. And like, because like I said, like there's going to be a tomorrow, and there's going to be the next week, and there's going to be a 10 years from now. And like things that are awesome take a real long time and a lot of effort. and like I want to just make something awesome. Like I'm old now, and just it's like the days are like numbered, you know. So like
How old are you?
got
How old are you guys?
45.
45? Jesus, I thought I
I'm
was.
34.
Wow, whoa, fuck.
We have a range of people though. There's let's see. I guess Steve would be the youngest. He's 32, and then I guess I would be the second youngest. Josh is 37. Shawn's 45, and Todd is he probably wouldn't want me saying. And,
He's older than 45, but he's
Todd's,
younger than 80.
Todd
Yeah,
doesn't look a day over 45.
Todd would be 55
Okay.
as of a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
But like I said, we all have different strengths and we all bring different things to the table. And I think that we have a really powerful team that at the end of the day, all has the same mindset. And that's what's really important. Mindset of making it the best it can be, focusing on quality, and not allowing ourselves to take the easy route, I guess.
And it sounds like you're connected with some great
And we all do
people.
what we love, kind of like, so, which is
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
If you're in there, if you're
like,
wearing a foreman's
working
hat,
with Russ Bennett.
I'll fuck with you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, guys.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just happy. Like, dude, I think Foreman's grow some of the best indoor in the state, dude. I really think, and I know I'm a little biased because Nick is from Lindenville and I'm from Lindenville, and there is a little bit of hometown bias, and I want to be fully honest about that. But on top of that, the herb that he's shown me is just top notch.
Oh yeah, like literally, like I chose them. Like they didn't choose me. Like I saw their stuff like at an event, a cannabis event, and I was like, well, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. I've been looking for you guys. Holy crap, here it is.
Which
and
event?
then like I was like, you guys, if you need like help, if I can, and then a couple of weeks later, like they got the word, and like things kind of just like took off, and we've I love working with them, and I hope I can we can continue to work together. And I know I'm kind of like stuck working with them for a while. So
which
they're
event
actually
was
they're
that, Shawn, where you met them?
More of it.
Where did you meet those guys?
An industry mixer.
Which one? Was it
at Zembarn?
Oh, okay.
One of their, I think it was I forgot what it was.
Yeah, there was a bunch of events there.
They did a lot of cannabis events, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I love those guys. They're just wonderful people, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. And again, like that's kind of, the tone of the conversation, I think, is quality, blah, 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 blah. What that means to me is also that the relationships that we've garnered in the industry, the people that we really want to be working with, I think that's really important to be on the same page and to have that same mindset, because there are some people, I think the majority of the people in the state of Vermont are fantastic and have the right intentions, but of course there's going to be a few outliers, and you just don't want to get into bed with people like that, because it could really negatively affect the industry as a whole and our own individual businesses.
Yeah, right. Your own reputation. Yeah.
Totally. Sure. So it's important, like, especially right now with a burgeoning industry in Vermont that has so much potential to be so awesome. It's really important in my mind to be very conscious of who we're working with, and make sure that it is the right fit for a plethora of different reasons. And luckily, there's an amazing pool of people to partner with, I guess. And I mean, I would say that Shawn has been absolutely integral in that process, because he really has his finger on the pulse. He's worked with a lot of different people in a lot of different capacities and parts of the industry, and so that's been great to be able to kind of meet some people that I probably personally wouldn't have necessarily met, like at this point, at least maybe in the future. But because of that, I think that it has opened up new ideas and different doors that probably would still be shut right now if it wasn't for Shawn. And so that's like a whole nother aspect of value that's brought to the table by our own partners. And that's just one example. And so, I mean, again, I think that, a rising tide, and I think that the opportunity is there. We just gotta take it.
Fucking A, Bob. He's good. He's always making great points, and then I'm like, shit, I gotta sit here and think about this for like 2 minutes. I got to tell you guys, I'm actually out of shit. I've reached the end of my question list, which means that I have to thank you both for your time, Shawn Rice, Bob Graham from Taunik in Heinsberg. But I always leave the last word for my guests. So if there's anything we missed, or shameless shout outs, or places we might find your products coming up that you'd care to share, which you don't have to if you don't want. But this is all you, gentlemen. I want to thank you so much for your time. This has really been a pleasure. And I wish you guys the best of luck. And this is all you right now.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much for taking the time. And thank you for, I think this is really good to even for us to tell our story and be able to, kind of look back on it and have something that we can also use as well. And it's not just for everyone else that's listening. It's really valuable for us to be here right now today. So thank you, Shawn. I don't know if you wanted to take that one and talk about maybe some next steps.
Yes. We got some new places. We're selling Taunik right in Burlington at City Market in the South End. You can find Taunik now at Henry Street Deli in Burlington. At the Vermont Comedy Club, you can get Taunik. Where else? At Lampman's Market in Heinsberg, right across the street from our warehouse, you can get Taunik. So we're adding new places every day.
Momo's is going to be carrying it in the Old North End of Burlington.
Yeah, I was just messaging with the Burn Gallery, so be getting into their dispensary. So yeah, in the next couple of weeks are going to be, pretty big and pretty wild and pretty busy, and I'm looking forward to it. So
absolutely,
thanks for having us. For sure.
Yeah, gentlemen. Best of luck.
Thank you.
That was the last word. That's all you. Thank you for joining me, and we'll check back in like 6 months and see how you're doing.
That sounds great.
Good luck, guys.
Peace.
Thank you.